So a lot. Every player in the conference has hit the transfer portal, and the college football playoff is based on TV ratings, and Utah to the Big Ten, that was a typo. This is the Big 12 squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up, it's the Big 12 squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big 12 squad.
Happy Thursday night, everybody. Welcome into the Big 12 squad. Something, grab a beer. My script won't load. That is Jake Hatch of Locked On Cougars. Talks all things BYU. Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Cougs down in Houston. Cody Stovall is here from Locked On Oklahoma State. Went out of his way to make it to the show. Cody, good to have you. JT Wistersill of Locked On Utes. Derek Johnson of Locked On Jayhawks. And the man of the hour, he says he's going to talk tonight more than ever. Fashionably late, Nick Maravets, Locked On Cyclones. Folks, a lot to get into at the transfer portal this week. By the time of release compared to time of recording, much could have happened, but plenty of big names have already entered the portal in this conference. We'll touch on that for sure. But where I want to start is a place that we can all get ticked off about, the college football playoff report from Heather Dinich, ESPN. Bill Connolly pointed it out that they want to go to a format possibly where TV ratings decide who goes to the college football playoff. That smells just like the SEC.
It would be, hard to put into words. I remember I said four auto bids for conference would be the worst thing to ever happen to the sport not too long ago. This would, somehow they found a way to top that. If we're just going to go off of ratings and make it a popularity contest, I thought we left that behind in middle school, but here we are still doing it in the college football realm. I hate it. I really do. If this is what it comes to, I don't even know what to say.
But JT, you guys are going to be in the Big Ten soon. Isn't that going to help you guys out?
Jake, I'm just happy you're here tonight. I was worried that Locked On BYU Cougs host is going to be in the transfer portal since half your roster seems to be.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
That's the same guy that argued for the NCAA tournament as was. Yeah, is saying that that's where we're at. Is that's the crazy take now?
Somehow JT is bringing level-headedness to the Big 12 squad this week. This report, to me, a couple of people have mentioned, could just be the smoke and mirrors. This could be, hey, what if we said something so crazy that the rest of the stuff that we pitch goes through? Like in the NFL, they propose no more 2-minute warning, and that's just so they can pass the new kickoff. Everyone's so mad about one thing, they overlook the actual piece that the rules committee wants to go through. So is there a world in which this is ESPN, the college football playoff, getting together and saying, look, if we say something so outlandish, then maybe they'll lay down and accept 4 automatic qualifiers for the SEC and Big Ten?
There's an argument to be made there, Drake. I think the biggest thing here is that we're watching the Big Ten and the SEC throw around their weight. Yes. We have Matt Rule out there saying that I'm not committed to Big 12 schools. I don't want. What are you doing, dude? You're a middle-tier Big Ten coach throwing your proverbial weight around. I'm not for it, but you're right. It could be something they're saying so outlandish that you're right. They're laying the groundwork for pushing something through because everybody else is like, you know what? If they want to go that far, we'll allow them to go to this point.
Well, and Rule specifically, Drake as the Baylor alum will tell me, like, he was a Big 12 coach left out of this thing that then parlayed that in the NFL and ultimately failed and came back to be a mid-tier coach, like Jake just said. Like, if anything, his whole career could have been different had this just been he'd be a more successful coach had this just been a more equal playing field across and let the Big 12 in the first place.
The Rule thing is ridiculous. I don't know why once again, it's like you guys said, why in the world are the middle tier SEC Big Ten coaches the ones who are trying to plant the flag? That's something you all have done a great job of highlighting on your different shows that I've seen. It doesn't make any sense to me why Matt Rule has to be like a guy who had success at Baylor, then it's turn around and be like, I don't understand why anyone would want to go play in the Big 12. Like, come on, Matt, really? Like,
he's jealous.
It's awful for the sport. It's awful for the sport. What happened when we were all like, we always competed together, but you're still trying to lift college football up. Now it's becoming just conferences kind of trying to prioritize themselves, which seems so weird to have, once again, like just be Nebraska and be like, yeah, I'm so happy we get our brains beat in by Ohio State each season.
Guys, it's obvious why Matt Rule would say this. He's looking for some semblance of viability as potential conference realignment is about to come. yes, they do really good at selling out the stadium, even when they're absolutely terrible. But if it's going to go off of a popularity contest, that is going to be huge for a team like Nebraska. Yes, they can put 100,000 people in the stands, supposedly, but it doesn't equal them being good at football. So since they can't be good at football, but they're really good at the popularity side of the game, I think this unfortunately does make a ton of sense. And I also think it's wishful thinking for any of us to believe there's a smoke and mirrors. I firmly believe they're trying to alienate as much as college football as physically possible so they can have more of a conversation on, well, let's just let all the blue bloods play. And this is yet another extension of that, in my opinion.
I agree with Cody that they do really well in that. The old black shirt thing when TV was first popularizing the sport as much as it is now in the 90s. Like it really blew up then, right? Like I get all that. Would anyone benefit more than Jake and BYU? I mean, like honestly, as far as TV numbers go, the international audience there, like they could be all of a sudden the flagship of the conference just because of the TV
the
numbers.
only Big 12 school that would be part of this conversation.
Agreed.
Whoa.
As long as Dion, if Dion leaves Colorado, if Dion stays at Colorado, they would be in this as well too. But he's not wrong in terms of popularity.
I had to pull it out. The worst guy you know.
I don't know what the big issue is here. We should vote on the Heisman, who has the most followers on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Retire their jersey.
Conference, realignment should be based on who gets the most website clicks. Like, I don't see what the issue is here. This seems very doable to me.
It's doable, that's for sure.
Before we leave that rule thing behind, I think it's important to know, I think he's actually just a little jealous of Iowa State. And this sounds wild, but Iowa State, out of the top 9 Nebraska recruits, Iowa State has 6 and has a direct correlation to a 7th, and the other 2 are on their board. Is Iowa State in the Big 12? We're throwing out there.
So
I
actually
see it. I thought it was a reach at first.
Nebraska, we got it. Okay, I like that. Let's go with that.
Well, and Mr. Nebraska Gatorade Player of the Year, who still holds all of the passing records in the state of Nebraska, is our third-string quarterback. So I'm sure that doesn't sit well with him either.
Doesn't help either.
Which, as a third-string quarterback at Oklahoma State, he will play at least 4 games and start 3 of them.
And play for 2 other Big 12 schools at some point.
Hey, Derek mentioned the Heisman thing, like being based on clicks and everything. I saw this thing today at the Oscars, like just officially mandated that you have to watch all the Best Picture nominees now to be able to vote on the award. Yet we still have Heisman voters that don't watch all the Heisman voters because they're like, oh, they play too late. It's ridiculous. That's probably like what 20th on what's wrong with the sport right now. So
could you imagine though if that the TV thing was actually like a thing and you just had like you had some team who was on the bubble of making it, and they're, some other team is the 11 seed who is like just on the inside of making it. And everybody's like, all right, everybody shut off your TVs in this region of the country. And everybody in another region is like, no, we got to get them in. And everybody in like Georgia's like, no, make sure to turn on the Alabama game this week and just be so.
What we would do is we would live stream the Big 12 squad during an SEC game and just try and steal people. Just try to steal people.
You know that would actually happen. A perfect case would be this previous season.
The internet,
Lane Kiffin told all of his family and all of his family's friends to make sure they tune in to Ole Miss SEC games just for viewership purposes. Stuff like that would get even bigger.
Coaches would buy like 12 TVs just to put on their house and just like when they're gone.
Yes.
You show up to a sports bar in Ames, Iowa. Like, there's 36 TVs. Where's the Alabama game?
Oh,
Not here.
That would be the big
here.
donation, the big tax write-off donation. Be all the TVs at the sports bar to have all the TVs on. That's the deal.
Talk about the future of NIL. Buffalo Wild Wings is about to be reborn by the SEC and the Big Ten.
Every B-dubs in every city that relates to a certain school is going to have every TV on.
Yeah.
Can we say B-dubs, or do we need to go with any type of wings place that will sponsor this show? How about that? Can we go with any single one, and we'll plug that one as the place it happens at?
Except for Hooters, we have Hatch here. We can't do the Hooters thing. I think we've.
There's Hooters in Utah. I have been there.
All right.
Were you allowed to say that?
Thank you. See, there is something that Ute Nation did provide all of us.
Speaking of Ute Nation, coming up, they're going to the Big Ten. Bye, JT. Good to see you. Great to have you. The Locked On Big 12 squad. Pausing things quickly to tell you today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's the best. Why is FanDuel the best? The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy. 3-pointers, steals, assists. You can't go wrong with FanDuel. And with their live betting, too, you're never out of the action. FanDuel is spectacular for that. Now, don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com. Claim your $250 in bonus bets today with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel. Download the app. Do it today. Jake Westerfield of Locked On Utes. Hot seat. This week, Jim Williams, who has a Twitter, said that there are 3 sources out of the Big Ten telling him that this could be a done deal, or I think he meant not a done deal or not a lock, but he actually tweeted this is a lock. I'm hoping it's a typo, but he's been told there's mutual interest between Utah and the Big Ten. I know it feels like we have this conversation once every 2 months. It's on the docket again. The Utah administration would go. They would do it. They'd kind of be silly not to. But I'm not so sure if the Big Ten A would do it or B would give you a full share. And it seems like a fever dream for any Utes fans that think it's legitimate.
You say that they would be silly not to. In some ways, though, they might be silly if they did go. And this is where I was even talk about this earlier on my show this week. What were we just talking about? Nebraska.
Wow. It's insane. You're on a roll today. God bless.
Oh, the Nebraska brand.
Big 12.
What'd you say?
You want to stay in the Big 12? This is great.
This is where, when it first happened, it was almost, I kind of mentioned the popularity contest earlier, right? Like, hey, it's a status thing, get into the Big Ten. But what kind of happened as soon as some of these teams got in the Big Ten? Like, how Washington just made the national championship game a couple years ago. They feel so far from that right now. Maybe they'll get back there. But as long as it's not like, okay, we're in super conferences, if you want a chance to compete at the highest level, get to the college football playoff, all of that, the best path for Utah to do that is undoubtedly in the Big 12 right now. So would it be really that great to get in the Big 10 just to be like, yay, we're in the Big 10? Like, I know UCLA's there. They got Nico Iliamava, but that doesn't they were awful last year. Awful's a lot, but I think that for Utah, number one, I don't buy the reports. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. There's a lot more attractive candidates for expansion to me than Utah right now, even though I think if you get down the list, you get to Utah. I like a lot about Utah still. I host Locked On Utes, of course, but I do still look at this and say we're far off from Utah leaving the conference, and I think that's good for Utah because they got a chance to compete in the Big 12 pretty much any year after what ASU just did.
Breaking news. JT's now been banned from every Ute message board known to man.
Right? Good.
That's not breaking, Jake. That's been the thing for like the last 3 years.
True. That's also not wrong.
Hey, look at that.
Mountaineer Paul. I didn't know we were going to start our push right now, by the way, to get more views up. There we go. Bring on Mountaineer Paul.
Paul, you with us there? There he is. What a good bit. Good bit.
I did a thing.
Okay.
Drake, you fell for Drake.
I'm Baja blasting away.
I did not hope that.
All right.
Segment 2.
He can only.
This is kind of crazy. Like I've done some writing work in the past for Jim Williams, so I do know that he has ridiculous amounts of connections. So there has to be some validity to this, but at the end of the day, I don't necessarily buy that Utah, because JT just mentioned it. Would they, in theory, love to be in the Big Ten? Yeah, we've been hearing about it ad nauseum for 2.5 years. But their best path to the CFP would be in the Big 12 at the moment. And in order for Utah to have a conversation about being Big 10 ready, they probably should put themselves in position to win the Big 12 first. I guess.
True.
As the probably, I think the newest arrival in the, I guess Jake and I got here the same year as far as Big 12 schools go. I would only push back on the idea that, like, I think if you threw that kind of money at any of the school as a baseline dollar amount, they would all consider it.
Agreed.
And they did get a quarter of the college football playoff, like three of the 12 teams. Like, do I think it's probably more like what I've argued the Big 12 should have more than one team? Yeah, we all did that show before. I understand the argument to go as the school that just got here, because it's the same reason that we came to the Big 12. It's more money. It's a better spot. It's a better spotlight.
But Parker, the question is, we mentioned Washington and Oregon only got half shares to come into this league. I would imagine that Utah's not going to get a full share to go in. If they got a full share, you jump immediately. That pushes the $90-100 million in the payouts annually. But if you're getting a half share, by the time this could come about, what's the Big 12 making? 50, 60, $70 million? That's the concern of how much more money you'd be making jumping.
Yeah, Jake's absolutely right with that. I just want to say, like, Utah would have to take it if they got it for the financial reasons. But I just think long-term, there's a chance it could diminish their brand, like I mentioned with Nebraska.
Well, we're all sold on the long-term vision of this thing catching up with Yormark's the guy that can do that, right? I don't think that it's just theoretically, if it's like, a bird in hand versus bird out there. Like, I'm going to take the one in hand. That's the deal, right? I think that's the argument.
And the other side of this is that the Big Ten, they obviously have the West Coast. They got the 4 schools on the West Coast. They need to link those. That's why Utah, BYU, the Arizona schools, Colorado, that Intermountain West region here, that's what's attracted to the Big Ten, because it creates that link across the country from the rest of the league to the West Coast.
Houston said the same thing about people trying to get into the state of Texas. I mean, right, you have A&M has talked about leaving Texas in the SEC, and their whole thing was being different. SMU was taking, willing to pay their way into anything. Houston's like, well, we can be the Texas school if you need one, right? Across the board. It just landed us where we are now.
Mm-hmm. I'm not from Texas, so.
Now that you guys are done making like actual points, can we address there was a siren in the background, and I'm a little worried about Mountaineer Paul right now?
Oh, you.
I actually
not me time. The first thing I thought was Derek's in Kansas, and I know what happens when sirens happen in Kansas.
Not this time.
With tornadoes as it is. I can remember specific dates to relevant tornadoes throughout history. So, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
Joplin?
Joplin, Missouri, 2011. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Take that. Paul, you've had a banner week for interviews this week.
Man.
It sounds like West Virginia athletics are back.
We're getting there, especially in basketball. We're starting to push into that $7 to $8 million range spending money wise, which I didn't think I had no clue.
Over here is like, what? Well, that was us 3 years ago.
I know,
that was
right?
a player for Hatch.
Well, I remember I was talking to the Pitt AD or the Pitt GM, Jay Kuntz, because he just got hired over there a couple of days ago. And like 21, I think it was, we spent $3.5 million and was number 1 class. That was a lot in 2021, and it just continues to go up. Yeah, West Virginia, I don't know what we gave Trace and Eaglestaff. It's probably into the 1 to 1.5. Hupp is over $1 million. It's, and we've got 5 other guys that are all into that $5 to $1 million range. So it's wild, man. I don't know. Here's what I know. Brent Baker had to hire Rich Rodriguez I don't want to say against his will, but that was like his 5th choice. We talked about that. And he said, I'm not doing it in basketball. I'm hiring my McCaslin guy, and I'm going to back the hell out of him to make sure that he's successful because, I don't know that it's just the way it is. I mean, you can buy 8 really good players in basketball if you have enough money. In football, $8 million is nothing. Mm-hmm. So it seems to be, and I'm not saying Rich Rod doesn't have backing. I just don't know that you can make the kind of impact. You've got to have 16, 18, 20 million in football to really make a difference.
Okay, Mountaineer Paul, to your point, BYU just lost 2 starting caliber players simply due to that fact. The BYU's got essentially enough money to compete Big 12 basketball-wise because, yes, they can go out and spend a bunch of money. You take that same amount of money and cross it over to BYU football, as I understand, they got about the same amount. You got to spread it across 40, 50 guys. It gets a lot thinner real quick.
Pause. Hold.
It's not even the same.
Right pause. There. It's a huge conversation that I wanted to get into to end the show today on the transfer portal in football being affected by dollar signs in basketball. This is the Big 12 Squad. Today's show is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? It sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. With Amazon Fire TV, you can pop that TV on and grab any paired controller. No console required. Fire TV Stick 4K devices. You can play EA College Football 25, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and Black Ops. That's what it's called. And with gaming made simple, it's all on your Fire TV. Latest technology, Wi-Fi 6/6E, auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers more responsive gameplay. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, Netflix, more, and very affordable, high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of an actual console. Hosts across our company are big hardcore gamers, and they love this product specifically. At Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass, Ultimate subscription, and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 2 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation with Fire TV. Hatch, it's been reported that BYU is offering Rob Wright $3.5 million. If I'm Harrison Taggart, a valuable linebacker, why am I not getting? Why is a player outside the top 25 returners in college basketball getting $3.5 million on the basketball floor, but me in the premier revenue sport that could help lead my team to the college football playoff, I get less? I'm not as valuable as that guy. I think that's a question a lot of players are starting to ask across the country as schools value basketball. Is that why BYU has seen a couple of big names in the portal already?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that some of these guys are looking at that saying, hey, AJ DeBonsa over here between $7 and $8 million, if you believe reports. Rob Wright, it's been reported anywhere between 2.25 and 3.5 in terms of the overall money he's getting. To Mountaineer Paul's point, you can buy 7-8 guys in college basketball, has a major impact, has you maybe near the top of the Big 12 conference. You buy 7 or 8 guys in college football, that's not going to get you anywhere near maybe the middle tier of the Big 12. That's the thing about this. You have to have tens of millions of dollars in college football to really make an imprint.
It's not so fun, Jake, when someone comes in and steals your players, is it?
I don't understand the correlation between the football and basketball conversation, because you're talking about 15 dudes to 105 dudes.
Right.
So if there's anybody that's like, oh, I'm mad that a basketball player is getting $4 million, I mean, then you picked the wrong sport, homie. You got to share the load.
Yeah, I'm with him. It's the same thing we see between the NFL and the NBA as we professionalize this thing out, right? It's running backs versus point guards, and the comparison's not close, right? In Dallas, you got Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and you got Ezekiel Elliott. Like in Houston, we've got like Tank Dell's making what money, CJ Stroud's making what money versus like Alperen Şengün. When you compare pro sports, this isn't a conversation. But in college sports, it's like
Soto, baby. Think about the marketability, though, too. I mean, think about the marketability of having a basketball player where I don't know. Maybe a couple of us might know what Rob Wright looks like if you saw him just on the street somewhere. How many of like a random Big 12 school that you don't follow, football players would you know without the helmet on?
Yeah, right. Good point.
Right.
Now, the other side of it is a lot of these schools out there, I know BYU's doing this, with regards to the new revenue share that's coming into effect, that $20.5 million, they're stratifying that money like an NFL salary cap. You essentially have a number that you're willing to go to for players. Let's say for Keelan Marion, for example, if you believe most of the numbers out there in NIL, between $150,000 to $300,000 is a top-end wide receiver at the Power 4 level. Well, reports are he's getting offers of $850,000, $900,000. Well, BYU, they may not be outbid, but they're also not going to go break the bank and set a bad precedent for paying for one guy.
That's it.
Think about this.
UCLA just did.
Yes.
But he gives you 2 touchdowns a year, Jake. Come on.
Actually 4, and they don't beat Utah without him. I will say that. They didn't beat Utah without him.
Betty Federico is going to get $1 million. So think about that. You know what I mean?
For dude just dunks it and plays defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was talking with JT about this on his show. I don't know when, at some point, they're like, which is going to be the first Big 12 school that loses a coach because of the revenue share, that they use too much of the money on the revenue share for basketball, and the head football coach gets pissed.
Are we everything that I've heard or seen on this, there just is no Title IX for it.
So the Trump administration came in and revamped what the Biden administration said on their way out the door, saying that Title IX does not apply to this revenue share. So most of the programs out there, as I understand it, between 75 and 85% of that revenue share money, so think of that between $18 and $19 million, if not more than that, is going to the football programs, and then the rest goes to men's basketball and maybe on down a little bit to other programs.
It's a tough conversation to have, the idea that without Title IX, where will women's programs find themselves? Where will men's tennis find itself? Where will cross country find it? If you're going to be equitable with this and give the equestrian girl the same as you give the cross country guy, cool. But you're not. You're going to give this entire load to football.
But Title IX's already gotten rid of a lot of baseball programs and a lot of men's soccer programs. That's kind of already started happening.
Nick, say hello.
I will say, though, that as far as like the thing that I don't think is also being talked about this is, like Cody mentioned, 15 guys play basketball. A basketball player plays 35 minutes a night, plays both ways. They're functionally a fifth of the team out there their whole time they're playing. A single linebacker might not even play every defensive snap of a football game. If you're an investor in these programs, and you're like, I got $1 million to put down, right? Paul talks all the time about like how great West Virginia would be if you hit the lottery, right? Like, where are you going to put it? Where makes the bigger difference? As Houston, we just saw how fun a March Madness run can be. Right. Like, where does that go?
But
Yeah, I
the
mean,
purse
imagine if
for
Javon
football
Small
is
could
so
come
much
back.
larger. The money you can make in football is so much. You win a national championship in one versus the other, basketball versus football. That gap is still massive. You would way rather be good at football than basketball.
Correct.
But the person investing the money in this person spending the money in the program, because this is all NIL dollars till the house settles, right? That's about what they're going to enjoy, and what are they going to enjoy more.
And what impact do they have?
Yeah, my $2
Do
million
we
goes.
actually think? Do we actually think the House, though, when they do, get that passed, where they're going to have that group that is going to basically, oh, this NIL deal is good and that one's overvalued? Do we actually think that's going to hold up, or is just one kid going to sue them and then that's going to go away?
There's going to be an injunction filed almost immediately.
Right, because as soon as that does happen, then what's stopping a school from saying, like, think about going back to Nebraska and Matt Rule, he's probably pissed because they're probably using a good amount actually on like volleyball, right? But what is stopping a school, if the NIL is okay, from just having a big money donor that says, hey, I'll fund your entire basketball team. And that way you can use all of the rev share on football and the Olympic sports, or like vice versa, or like use all of the rev share on these sports and be great at these sports, and I will fund the football team, right? Like, why couldn't you just work it around that way? If, like, for instance, T. Boone Pickens was like still a thing with Cody, right?
I mean, we're getting the benefits from wrestling. The guy who's putting up all the money for Oklahoma State wrestling has nothing to do with Oklahoma State. He just wants to see a school down the road get more, marketability and bring tournaments in the state of Oklahoma to a bigger picture. So he's going to continue footing the wrestling bill regardless of what happens with all this, because it benefits his other business at UCO.
Right. But to Derek's point, if Deloitte, the third party that's supposed to vet all these NIL deals, nixes that, I can guarantee a lawsuit will be filed by Oklahoma State University and this booster to say, try enforcing us not being able to fund this program. Watch us.
Yep.
One other twist I was hearing somebody talk about the other day while I was having a conversation with them was, so you see like the Cavender twins, you see people like this who have these insane social media followings, and schools are going to be known.
Cavender twins would win the Heisman, for what it's worth.
And they would go to the college football playoff because of
absolutely.
viewership.
And if you didn't hear today's latest news, what's the Miami quarterback's name now that came from Georgia?
Carson Beck.
Yeah,
who they hate.
They hate Carson Beck, and
no friends.
Not a good person. Somebody sent me that clip earlier. I'm like, why am I watching this? But so I think partially what you can offer some of these people that maybe not get a ton of rev share or NIL money is the opportunity to build your social media profile and make money that way. Because I think, if you have a specific plan for that, it gives you a kind of a step ahead of some others.
I would also ask whenever the House thing settles, I see a handful of good basketball programs here in JT, and I would point out that there's a whole conference here that is really good at basketball.
You let Cody in? You let Oklahoma State get in?
I still think of them as really
have
good
you been
at
paying
basketball.
attention to what we've been doing?
Mike Boynton's a great head coach, JT.
West Virginia baseball, 30-4.
But what I was going to say is there's a whole conference that's actually really good at basketball, has, most recent back-to-back champion, and doesn't have football in it. Those schools seem like, as far as like competing for basketball goes, that's going to be a pretty big step, like leg up. They don't have enough money coming in NIL, but it's just $20 million from house. That's a lot. It's all one basketball.
I forgot you guys lost. And I thought about it again, and it still hurts me. You're up by so much. You're going to win the game, and you just didn't.
You would forget about it, too, if you watched the show he hosted. We barely touched on it.
Oh, that's so hard to grapple with. We should have won the championship this year, and we didn't. Yes.
I mean, how much would an NIL difference would that have made had you guys won the championship too, Parker? Like, do you think going forward,
for everybody, right? We all would have gotten one.
Yeah, we'd all got like $750,000. Thanks a lot, Parker.
Thanks,
Parker. I don't mean to be that guy, but our NIL basketball thing's like almost $9 million right now. We're doing it right.
Yeah, which I
would have been 10.
Houston,
would have been 10
for Houston, for Duke, for Indiana.
Could have got Haggerty.
Football's better, but for those schools, and Duke has already mentioned this, they're just going to sell out for basketball. What if instead of paying 10 for basketball and 15 for football, we just did 25 for basketball and built the greatest college team of all time?
Oh, I would love to see a basketball conference. And
isn't that the Big East in a nutshell?
Yes, but that's football. They don't have football to apply this.
How many programs would actually do that outside of Kansas?
Duke would for sure. Duke would for sure.
I think more than you would anticipate, just because winning in football, it's very difficult to do.
It's so hard.
But if you can overload your basketball roster, I don't want to say it's an easier path, but it seemingly is a little bit of an easier formula.
Unless
if you're gonna dump all of your money into one particular sport, you might as well get rid of football to some degree.
And if they're only going to let one Big 12 team in the college football playoff and a bunch of us in the Big Dance, I think that it's more about investment there too, right?
See what you did there, Parker.
It's not happening.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cody makes a great point here that there are 10 teams, 10 programs in college football that can win a championship. That's it. That's the way that we've built modern college football. There are about 10 schools that could get away with. Even Oregon should be, and they still can't. A&M should be, and they still can't. Like they're outside looking in of that 10, which is crazy. But like Michigan, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, that list is tight. And none of us are really knocking on that door right now. And financially, we can't. And the stipulations to win a championship are getting tougher and tougher for schools like us. We're going to end.
I don't have the ability to put up the graphic of the worst person I know made a great point, but it also applies to what Drake just said.
Thank you very much, JT. This has been It Always Will Be. Thanks to Jake Hatch of Locked On Cougars, Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Cougs, Cody Stovall talking all things Oklahoma State, Mountaineer Paul with West Virginia, Nick Maravets, Locked On Cyclones, Derek, and JT with the Jayhawks and the Utes. This has been Honk That Train. Honk? Locked On.
Nick was in here.
Jose Grandes.
Utah's here to stay.